Well, y'all, this is my first politically charged video. And I want to make it clear right off the bat that I'm an extreme constitutionalist. I believe the Constitution is correct. I believe that if this country was to be able to get back to the Constitution, things would be a lot better. There are so many laws right now that even, your most basic, average, everyday Joe or Jane can't go a day without breaking some kind of law. And I think that's just retarded. I think that's so stupid to have that many laws. The Second Amendment clearly states that my right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This means that we all have the right to keep and carry firearms. If one takes a look at the trend of gun laws compared to gun violence, it is clear that more laws begets more violence. The criminal does not and will not heed to laws. The criminal performing a crime, either with or without a firearm, is going to commit said crime either way. If the Arizona shooter would have used a weapon other than a pistol, would that warrant a law of restriction for whatever tool he used? Example given, a baseball bat, a screwdriver, whatever it may be. Let's use the screwdriver as a hypothetical tool and ask if after this act of malintent that the only people who can own one are licensed and the tool itself must be registered. The only word I can think of to describe this mode of thinking is asinine. Now let's talk about another hypothetical scenario. This said shooter wants to pull off his mission with a pistol. Instead of an unarmed people there at the event, we have a situation where a good percentage of the people attending have a sidearm in plain view. Said shooter would have to be very determined to do his deed, knowing that the chances of survival are now slim to none. Remember, this is a fact. Any person willing to give up their life to make sure someone else loses theirs is not sane. The person is disturbed for whatever reason and is obviously wanting to make some sort of statement. Now, in this crowd of said people at this event, let's say that the percentage of people that are carrying firearms who would be willing to draw and use them is 5%. Let's just say out of everybody that, at an event like that has a firearm on their side, loaded, ready to go, ready for action, clickety-clack, rack the slide back, only 5% are willing to pull and use those. I'm pretty sure that that 5% is enough to either take care of a situation that escalates or prevent one altogether. Because if the shooter knows that that crowd of people over there, there's at least a few of them in there that are more than willing to pull that 40 or that 45 or that 380 auto or that 9mm or whatever it may be out of its holster and put it to good use. I think he's a little what's the word I'm looking for here? The shooter would be less inclined to do said crime. The act of killing at random after the target had been hit, in my logic, is an act of anger towards society itself. Now, this sort of event is only an excuse for the Constitution's haters to make and pass bills that restrict the rights of the people, especially the ones that would never do such an act. Again, I have to ask, and use the word asinine, is this logical? Remember that the criminal cares less about what the law says. The criminal only cares about performing the designed task. and desired past. As it clearly states on my channel, I do not believe any story as it is reported to the sheeple. Truth is not a theory, but a conspiracy is just that. To me, there are enough holes and red flags in this event for me to take a second and third look at what is being presented as truth. The results of this will be in another video. With all of this said, I'll get to my point of it all. In reality, one must pass a background check in order to purchase a handgun. That's standard, everyday business. So, you know, in reality, the purchaser of this said handgun has already proved they don't have a criminal history. It does not prove they are sane. If a psych check was performed as well, in theory, the nutcase would not be able to obtain a handgun legally, and I understand that there's a lot of loopholes and backwashes in such a psych check. And I'm not talking about you go into a little room and sit at a table with a little guy who evaluates you. No, they just make sure that you're not in and out of hospitals or whatever, and I understand that that's not going to solve all the problems, but it will make it easier to prevent them. The people who pass both checks should be able to use the receipt of this purchase as an open carry license. In my state, a handgun in a holster is considered concealed. Again, I think this is asinine. Police openly carry a sidearm, and it is in the open, on the hip, in a holster, but very visible. Very, very visible. That's, you know, that's the key word in this whole thing. Visible. If it's visible, how is it concealed? Whether in a holster or not. If you're looking at a police officer's hip, and you see a holster but not a weapon, you know, that's pretty recognizable. If you look at a holster that has a weapon in it, that's pretty obvious as well. So, I mean, we have the right, according to the Second Amendment in the Constitution, to openly carry our firearms. These restrictions upon us because of crazy nut jobs is unconstitutional and just completely stupid. You know, I don't understand the logic behind needing to pay a fee for a right that the Constitution clearly says I have that cannot be infringed upon. I don't understand how this has come about. The way I see things is the fact that a gun in the hand is worth more than a cop on the phone. You know, no matter where the trouble is, home, work, or a convenience store, or a conference center, or a small event for some politician, it doesn't really matter. But, you know, a gun in hand is worth more than a cop on the phone. You know, we the people have and should use the right to bear arms to our benefit. As in, united we stand. When we bond together to protect ourselves, we will regain our rights and freedom from manufactured fear that has been presented to us by the news media, by the so-called elites, the corporations who just want you to eat more chicken. The whole scenario to me of some lone gun dude mowing down some folks, you know, of high standing is an excuse to take my rights away when I'm on the other side of the country. Makes about as much sense to me as an ear on my elbow. I just figured I'd share that with y'all. Please post, comment, like, dislike, tell me I'm a fruitcake, whatever. I don't care. Freedom of speech. That's what the comment box is for. Bandana Maniac is out.